Hey guys, it's the Ninja Critic, with the ninja who does reviews at night. When I was a young boy, one of my all-time favorite fighting games I loved to play on the GameCube was Super Smash Bros. Melee. It was the game that got me into the series. As you can guess, I was late on it since I didn't grow up with a Nintendo 64, so I didn't even realize there was a Smash game for the N64. I to this day haven't played it, but I am really looking forward to. Anyways, when I first heard about Brawl, I was actually very excited, despite the delays that it's been getting. There was a lot of stuff that surprised me, with the newcomers, returning veterans, and surprises that we never expected. Like, we got 2 third-party characters, more on that later, that I didn't even think was going to be in the game. Well, for one, possibly, but for the other one, that was almost unexpected. So, to take a break from all the negativity that I've been getting, well, at least for the negative reviews, I'm going to do something positive for once. Now don't worry, I'm going to get back to the negative stuff sooner or later, but for right now, let's review something good. This is my review of Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Nintendo Wii. So the first thing I like to kick off is the character roster. Like any other fighting game, we've got to have a cast of characters to represent from the series that they represent, right? My wording is bad today. What I mean by that, any fighting game should have a decent amount of characters in the roster. Brawl does not disappoint with that. We have a total of 39 characters to play as. We got returning fighters like Mario, Link, Ness, and Zelda. But we also got some newcomers like Lucario, Lucas, Wolf, and as mentioned earlier, 2 third-party company characters, or third-party guest characters. In this case, we got Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series owned by Konami, and the ever so popular Sega's mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog, who, believe it or not, was the most requested character to join the roster, and everybody wishes came true. Personally for me, Lucas has been my all-time favorite main in this game. He can reflect projectiles, his attacks do a lot of damage, has a badass recovery, absorb projectiles that can heal him, and freezes opponents. Jeez! Here's a little fun fact for all of you. Lucas was originally supposed to be joining the roster from Melee, but because of Mother 3's delay, he was removed, and so he was brought as a newcomer in Brawl. Brawl also introduces us the Subspace Emissary, but let me just say right now, as awesome as the cutscenes look and I can appreciate what they were going for, it's only a good time to play this once and never come back to it. Why? Because, let me just say that the Subspace Emissary was not worth it. Not to say the story was bad, not to say it was bad at all, but the fact that the Great Maze, the infamous Great Maze, is what ruined my experience when playing through this. So that's why I encourage you, play it once, never come back to it again. Brawl brings back 2 modes that were from Melee and 64, that being All-Star, where you have to fight every single one of these opponents in one life, and Classic Mode. In Classic Mode, it's pretty much arcade mode, but it's somewhat handled a little different from Melee. And I'm specifically talking about the rounds. What do I mean by that? Well, take a look. Each stage in Classic Mode is broken up into different categories. In Stage 1, you fight characters in the Zelda universe. Stage 3 has you fighting against characters from the Pokemon series. Stage 7 has you fighting against characters from the Star Fox universe, or in some scenarios, Captain Falcon, who's the only representative for the F-Zero series. Stage 8 has you fighting against characters from the Mario Bros. Series, and so on and so forth. You guys get the idea. A thing that has been added into Brawl that didn't appear in Melee were boss battles. This basically was a boss rush mode where you had to fight against 10 bosses in the entire game. Not just Crazy Hand and Master Hand, I mean all the other 8 bosses that you have to fight through the Subspace Emissary. Yeah, I think boss rush speaks for itself. Home Run Contest was also brought back, speaks for itself, and there's also Target Smash, which is actually different from Melee. What do I mean by that? Well, you know how in Melee, every single character had their own layout, depending on which character you were using? This game, all 39 characters share 5 layouts. It all depends on the difficulty that you choose. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It made it easier on the developers, but for gamers, not so much. I mean, levels 1 and 2 were no problem. Level 3 was okay, but levels 4 and 5 is where people really started to drive nuts. And you're going to be thankful because what I'm about to talk next is going to be very useful. Throughout your playthrough of the game, whether it be in Brawl, Classic Mode, All-Star Mode, Boss Battles, or whatever, you'll come across challenges that, when meeting certain criteria, will help you unlock something. As you can clearly see, I've unlocked everything. But, here's the thing. I did not do every single criteria. Throughout your criteria challenges thing, you'll come across gold hammers, which you can immediately unlock things without doing the criteria. For example, one of the criteria is to collect all stickers. This is one of the challenges that I did where I used the golden hammer. Another one that I did was... where was it? Ah, here it is. The 15-minute brawl in Multi-Man Brawl. Be thankful that you have the hammers to back you up. Some new additions to Brawl that has also been used was the ability to save replays under 3 minutes, mind you. Take pictures during battles when you pause the game and press the A button. And of course, Stage Builder. While you were limited to certain things, it was still a cool thing to create your own stage with your own, how should I say, background music playing. Speaking of soundtracks, you can actually customize when you can play songs, less likely or more likely during stages. As you can see here in the Green Hill Zone, I had my song set to more likely for Sonic Boom, half and half for Supersonic Racing, more likely for Sonic Heroes, and more likely on His World, the instrumental version, and the others, less likely. Not to say that they were bad tracks, I just don't like to hear them when I'm on the Green Hill Zone. I don't know, they just aren't my cup of tea. Not to say that I don't like them, but I just don't think it's fitting enough. The combat in Brawl is pretty much the same thing in Melee, which is to say pretty good. You use the 2 button. FYI, you have to use... I'm playing the game sideways with the Wii Remote. It can be played with the classic GameCube controller, Wii Mode and Nunchuck, classic controller, and sideways Wii Remote, which is the one that I'm using right now. You use the 2 button to attack and 1 for your special moves. If you press 1 and up, you'll do a recovery jump, which speaks for itself because the objective in every Brawl game was to knock your opponents off the stage rather than depleting health bars like in most fighting games. Introduced into Brawl was the ability to use Final Smashes, but as you can see there, I failed. What these Final Smashes do, they are just overpowered as heck. They pretty much make your character use ultimate attacks. For Snake, it was like he was going to be on a helicopter and then start shooting missiles or grenades or whatever they were to your opponents. So that's a new power up. Sorry for my unscripted speaking, people. Yeah, it came out unscripted. You can see there that was Marth's Final Smash. So yeah, Final Smashes were a pretty innovative thing to add in the game, but not all of them were awesome. Yeah, this is going to be a problem that I'm going to talk about later. Now, Super Smash Bros. Brawl is a terrific game, no question about it. It's a must-buy for the Wii, but there are problems that I have to discuss about. As I mentioned earlier, some of the Final Smashes aren't really that useful, like Mars. Yes, it can insta-kill your opponents very quickly, but if you by any chance miss them, this happens. You insta-kill yourself. Also, speaking of Final Smashes, can you guys tell me with a straight face that it isn't a problem that all 3 Star Fox characters in the game share the same Final Smash? Even Falco, who, if you remember correctly, prefers his battle in the air. And as far as I remember, Wolf never had a Landmaster. So, why do all 3 of them have the same Final Smash? And then we have Sonic's Final Smash. What is it basically? Supersonic, or as some call me, Johnny likes to call it, the Destroy All Worlds. Why? Because this is without a doubt the most overpowered, the fastest, and the most broken Final Smash in Brawl history. I am not kidding. if you by any chance play as Sonic and have this Final Smash ready to go, consider yourself lucky. Otherwise, just run away from it. Now, some stages, it's playable. Well, I wouldn't say playable, but they're fun to play against. Like Final Destination, obviously the Battlefield, the Green Hill Zone, that's good and all. But then you have stages that just piss us off for the wrong reasons. I am mostly talking about the auto-scrolling levels. Yeah, you all know which ones I'm talking about. Big Blue, Jungle Level, you name it, you hate it. And you also have the big stages, like Newport City and the Temple, which admittedly was introduced in Melee, but guys, apart from the music, I really don't like any of the big, stages. They are just annoying. Also, why does Ganondorf have Captain Falcon's move? No, seriously, look at it! Falcon Kick. Meta Knight stop attacking me? Oh god. Falcon Punch! Even his recovery is somewhat similar. And this has been going on since Melee. Come on, Nintendo, give Ganondorf its own moveset. Don't just rip it off from Captain Falcon. Another problem that I have with the game is Classic Mode. Now, before I move on, let me just say something right now. All-Stars is not my cup of tea. I didn't like playing through All-Stars because I had to fight every single opponent from start to finish, and it just kinda got under my skin. It wasn't as something that frustrated me, it just wasn't my thing. Now with Classic Mode, I wouldn't say it's the worst Classic Mode ever, but there are some problems I have with it. Like I said, the category is somewhat pleasant, but there's one problem that I have with it. Say for example that you come across a giant opponent, in this case Giant Yoshi. You always have an ally to back you up. Well, in only stage 2, you only have 2 allies, but in stages 3, 4, and 5, you only get 1 ally while fighting a giant opponent. But by the time you get to the 6th stage and beyond, you don't get no ally for any of the giant opponents. Why not? I mean, with stages 9 and 10, maybe I can understand a little bit, but for stage 7, why don't I get a Star Fox ally whenever I fight Giant Falco? It's a little nitpick, yeah, and maybe provides more of a challenge, but this is not the way to do it, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what? Maybe all of those problems I discussed were just nitpicks. Especially the ones that I didn't cover. Like how Meta Knight is the most broken character in the game, or about the unnecessary tripping that happens once in a while, or how Zero Suit Samus can't be played unless you perform Samus's Final Smash first, all that good stuff. What matters to me if a game is fun or not, and Brawl certainly is a fun game. Do I find it better than Melee? No, but even with that, I still consider Brawl one of the best games of the Wii on the Wii, and one of the best fighting games on the Wii as well. If you got a Wii, do yourself a favor and get this game. It's definitely worth the while, even though the nitpicks might get in your way. Brawl is just an overall good game. Just not as good as Melee, that's for sure.